Hello and welcome to News OSU for Tuesday, February 19th, 2021. I'm Caitlin Seiler and thank you for joining us. We begin with some urgent news from the university. The Oklahoma State Police Department is warning students of an internship scam that is promising students quick money in exchange for personal information. We took an inside look at how students can avoid this issue.
Picture this. You receive an email that promises a paid internship and requires minimal qualifications and limited hours. The internship is yours so long as you respond with personal information. Sounds too good to be true, right? Unfortunately, it is. An email scam just like this one has been targeted at OSU students.
These email scammers are sending students who respond to the email a check. The student is instructed to keep a portion of the money on the check for their first paycheck and their time. The rest of the money is to be sent to a third party involved with the internship. Once this happens, the original check then bounces and the student loses the money they sent over to the scammers.
OSU PD was notified of the scam after multiple students had fallen victim and lost money. OSU Police Chief Leon Jones says OSU PD immediately issued a warning to students through text and email.
There's a lot of people making a lot of money off scams these days, so I just would encourage everyone, if you receive anything that's out of the ordinary or you have any questions, contact us. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
This isn't the first time OSU has had to deal with an online scam. A previous scam involved phone calls impersonating Chief Jones and asking students for money. OSU Information Technology Manager and Forensic Investigator Aaron Smith says there are several resources for students who aren't sure if they're being scammed.
Well, if they receive an email that they think is suspicious and they're not sure if it's actually legitimate, they can send it to abuse@okstate.edu or helpdesk at okstate.edu, and we can respond to them and let them know if it appears to be a legitimate email or if it appears to be some type of fraudulent claim.
If you or someone you know is suspicious of being scammed, please contact OSU PD at 405-744-6523 or email abuse@okstate.edu. For News OSU, I'm Caitlin Seiler.
A true David and Goliath tale has shaken up the stock market. GameStop has become a hot topic on Wall Street. The popular gaming retail store made national news, and not because of its video games. Scout Cooper has more.
This empty store may not look like much, but on the internet, GameStop and other companies like AMC have become a battleground as retail investors go head-to-head with Wall Street. The stock market has been trending up as the market recovered from the COVID dip, when a user on a messaging board Reddit in a group called Wall Street Bets started calling attention to GameStop during the summer. The user noted a few hedge funds had bet massive sums of money on GameStop going under and called for other retail investors to raise the price in retaliation. The sudden explosion of GameStop stock raised the price by over 870% and caused hedge funds massive damage, with Melvin Capital going down over 30%. The damage caused was getting celebrity attention and attracting new traders to see if they too could catch lightning in a bottle.
You can look at like what was happening with GameStop and AMC as people essentially thinking that they were buying a lottery ticket, right, and trading those stocks kind of like a casino, and it ended up being actually like a pump and dump scheme where, the people that got in early were essentially trying to, get other people to jump in on it and bid up the price further, and then they jump out, and essentially the people that get in last get, stuck holding the bag. So
One way retail investors can get involved in the market is an app called Robinhood right here on your phone, where you can buy, sell, or just learn about the stock market. But Robinhood has found itself in the crosshairs of those very retail investors after severely limiting the buying of certain stocks, such as GameStop and AMC.
It boils down to, we were given, $600, and most college kids didn't even get that because they were on their parents' insurance. And when the common man, like I said, decided to get into investing and figured out they can play their own game kind of at it, we were shut down.
Robinhood and retail investors will be looking to make amends as the market stabilizes, and everyone will have some adjusting to do as access to the stock market grows with access to information. Reporting from Stillwater, Scout Cooper, News OSU.
States across the nation are taking the next step to educate children back inside the classroom again. President Joe Biden has proposed a new COVID-19 relief plan for the nation. According to the Washington Post, the $1.9 trillion plan was laid out in response to the ongoing pandemic. One major key factor of the plan is to vaccinate all teachers across the United States. The goal of vaccinating teachers is to reopen schools K through 12. Now, let's take a look at the latest Oklahoma State University COVID-19 dashboard cases. New data shows that of the 409 University Health Service tests performed, 15 were positive. There has been an additional 15 positive cases reported, and 9 individuals are in university-sponsored quarantine housing. This is a decline for cases reported on OSU's campus since early January. While schools plan to reopen with the new COVID-19 relief bill, university students across the nation are suffering to adapt to campus life. A crucial part of transitioning from high school to college has been lost throughout the pandemic. Maggie Burke has the story.
Oklahoma State University is known for being the cowboy family. However, because of COVID-19 limiting in-person classes and events, new students may be lacking that connection. After March 18th last year, OSU went all online. This included campus tours, new student orientation, Camp Cowboy, and Welcome Week activities in the fall. This took away the opportunity for incoming freshmen and transfer students to meet new people and learn the campus.
I'm still learning the ways of campus, whereas I feel like if it was actually in person and I got to meet people, I would have known my way better.
In the fall, classes returned to campus, but not in the way they were before the pandemic. Head says her lack of meeting people left her feeling lonely during her first semester.
You could go in-person class, but they were also everything was Zoom and we didn't have to take attendance. So most of the kids just did it online. I just did it online.
At this time last year, Monroe Street was flooded with students walking to class and new student tours. Now, students are sparse and campus feels empty. Freshman Reagan Davis says she believes the university is doing what they can to help new students despite the circumstances that the whole country is in.
It's something we have to just deal with right now, but it's definitely challenging because I feel like we lose half of that connection.
Davis says she has no regrets in her decision to come to OSU.
And we're going to appreciate the normal so much more when it does come, and that's something I'm looking forward to, and I hope I get to experience while I'm here.
Despite the disconnect, fall enrollment at OSU was higher than in the fall of 2019. The pandemic has taken a toll on the mental health of college students across the country, and the lack of connection to the cowboy family at Oklahoma State is a concern in regards to helping students' mental health. Oklahoma State University announced their plans to return to in-person classes as normal next fall. For News OSU, I'm Maggie Burke.
A crucial piece of history is finally being taught in Oklahoma public schools nearly 100 years after the tragedy occurred. According to the Oklahoma Historical Society, the Tulsa Race Massacre was known as one of the worst racial acts of violence in United States history. Now, groups in Tulsa are asking for high demands from the Tulsa City Council. Destiny Adams has more.
Residents of Tulsa meet at City Hall every Wednesday asking the Tulsa City Council for reparations on behalf of the Tulsa Race Massacre. June 1st, 1921, a white mob went to Tulsa's Greenwood district, setting black homes and businesses on fire. It was then known as America's Black Wall Street, but it was completely destroyed by the fires and bombs set by the mob.
The church is a sacred place for many reasons, but what you may not know is it was a safe place for the victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre who hid in the Vernon AME Church in the Greenwood District. Check this out.
Reverend Robert Turner preaches at the Vernon AME Church, which is the only building in Greenwood that stands in its original spot before the massacre occurred. He is leading advocate for reparations in Tulsa.
Businesses destroyed, over 20 plus churches burned, 1,256 homes destroyed, all in 18 hours.
Students from Oklahoma State University joined OK State Stand United in Tulsa February 3rd on a Wednesday afternoon to march with Reverend Turner.
Why are we not talking about this? That's why we're here today. And I hope that all of you will take this conversation back to Stillwater, back to your classrooms, and make people uncomfortable.
Students who attended signed letters written by citizens of Tulsa asking for the Tulsa City Council to take their demand for reparations seriously. For OSU News, I'm Destiny Adams.
The unprecedented second impeachment trial for former President Donald Trump begins today. Trump is being charged with incitement of insurrection after the January 6th Capitol riot. The riot brought thousands of Trump supporters to Washington, D.C. and left 5 individuals, including one law enforcement officer, dead. Trump spoke to the group just before the attack on Washington following the riot in Washington. Trump's Twitter and Facebook accounts were suspended while he was still in office. If convicted, Donald Trump will be the only president in history to be impeached from office twice.
This past week, Oklahoma State basketball was given the opportunity to find out how much the team has improved since December. The Cowboys had a rough start to conference play, but showed some serious signs of improvement against the Longhorns on Saturday. Now, it's said that revenge is a dish best served cold, and while temperatures outside Gallagher-Iba Arena were below freezing, the Cowboys claimed a heated 75-67 double overtime victory against number 6 Texas. All eyes were on OSU star Cade Cunningham, but some huge performances from Caleb Boone and Avery Anderson were crucial in the Cowboys' win. Boone led the Cowboys in scoring, recording a career-high 22 points and added 15 rebounds. Saturday was a much-needed rebound for Boone, who was shut down in Wednesday's game against TCU, limited to 1 point in 12 minutes. Anderson also stepped up as he recorded his first ever double-double with 16 points and 10 rebounds. As for Cunningham, the projected number 1 NBA draft pick had an up-and-down performance. Cunningham finished the game with 19 points but missed 17 of his 22 shots. He did score a critical game-time three-pointer in the final minute of regulation and another three-point shot in the second overtime period. The rest of crunch time was a different story. Cunningham's inconsistent shooting followed him into the final parts of the game as he made only 25% of his shots. His biggest miss of the game was a potential game-winner floater from short range at the end of the first overtime. OSU head coach Mike Boyne says Cunningham is still learning how to make those big plays in crucial moments.
18-year-old, really talented dude who's still figuring it out. And I have to keep reminding myself because I want him to make the right play all the time too. Right? I want him to make all the shots that he takes, and I want him to make all the right passes at the right time. But college defenses are a little bit different. The spacing is a little bit different, and he's still adapting to how people guard him in those situations.
The win improves the Cowboys' record to 12-5, and they will get a shot at sweeping Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse on Monday. Keeping the action inside GIA, Natasha Mack and the Oklahoma State Cowgirls put on a historic performance against OU on Saturday. The Cowgirls showed no mercy against their in-state foes, defeating the Sooners 91-64. The win was the largest margin of victory in a Bedlam game in 45 years. Mack was an unstoppable force who led the Cowgirls in scoring with 26 points and in rebounds with 18. Her most important stat of the night, though, was her 5 blocks. The senior forward now holds the record for most blocks in OSU women's basketball history with 176 blocks. Mack surpassed Tony Young, who previously held the record with 173. Mack and the Cowgirls now sit third in the Big 12 and will travel to Austin to take on the Longhorns on Wednesday. Now, we can't think about OSU basketball this week without thinking back to one horrible night 20 years ago. It was the darkest moment in OSU history. News OSU Joseph Fazio has more on the 20th anniversary on the Remember the 10 plane crash.
On January 27, 2001, 10 members of the Oklahoma State men's basketball team died in a plane crash in Colorado. 20 years later, the lives of all the victims remains in the minds of those close to OSU, including Chad Weiberg. Weiberg is currently the Deputy Athletic Director and worked for the Alumni Association when he found out his brother Jared was one of the 10 who died in the crash. Jared was a student manager on the Cowboy basketball team and had always been close with his older brother. With the 20th anniversary of Jared's death, Weiberg says he thinks about the good times he had with his brother.
The edges of it kind of dull. It's not quite as sharp, and I think just as the years have gone on, you reflect more on all of the fun times, the good memories, and less on the accident.
Now, while 20 years have passed, it is still a deep-rooted event in OSU's history. That's why head coach Mike Boyne has made it a priority to teach his players about the crash every year on the anniversary. Some members of the team were very young or weren't even born yet when the crash happened. But for junior Isaac Likely, that doesn't make the history any less important.
You know, my freshman year, whenever I knew about it, but I didn't just really know the backstory of everything that happened. So whenever I stood in front of it my freshman year, you know, I got this kind of feeling.
Teaching the history of the crash will always be important because of 3 words scattered around the memorial. We will remember. Weiberg says it was a promise made by OSU to maintain the memory of those who died in the crash. And for Kendall, Bjorn, Nate, Will, Daniel, Brian, Denver, Pat, Bill, and Jared, OSU will always remember. Joseph Fazio, News OSU.
And finally, the NFL wrapped up its season on Sunday with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning Super Bowl 55 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, depending on who you ask, a former Oklahoma State Cowboy played in the big game and was one of the main storylines. Tyreek Hill was limited to 7 catches and 78 yards of total offense, but the moment everyone's talking about came in the fourth quarter. Those who prefer not to claim Hill as a former Cowboy were grinning ear to ear when Buccaneer defender Antoine Winfield Jr. broke up a pass to the speedster and flashed his iconic peace sign right in Hill's face. The taunting move was done as an act of revenge after Hill flashed that same peace sign to Winfield Jr. when these teams matched up in Week 12. Now, I unfortunately don't have my Savage meter with me, but if I did, I'm sure it would be off the charts.
Thanks, David. That's all the time we have for this week's News OSU. I'm Caitlin Seiler. Stay safe, stay warm, and remember to watch us next week on O State TV.